Hello, everybody again. By the way, I did not tell you what is my job. I have two daughters, and sometimes they ask me, what's your job, Daddy? And I tend to be sort of confused, and I believe they think I'm a kind of a drug dealer or a smuggler or some sort of criminal. Because in reality, I did so many different things in my professional life that I'm sometimes get confused. I found myself in the description of the course of Professor Luigi Serio, because I did some international entrepreneurship. As I will tell you soon, I've been an accountant, somewhat not certified, so I could tell you that the course of Professor Mezzabotta is absolutely key for anything you will do in life. If you are totally proficient with accounting, you will know how to read. It's a different language. It's like speaking, a foreign language and understanding companies who speak through the numbers. Let me go back, and the topic of the speech, so-called speech, is again passing on some experience with no pretension of telling you what globalization is, internationalization. You will see that I have sort of lived international business, so I'm speaking by experience, not by theory. As I was saying before, for me, it's coming back to a full circle. I was there back in 1984, hearing someone telling me what was all about the master's degree, and I remember the degree of excitement and anxiety was a good mix. Thinking back now, after so many years, that has been probably the best investment in my life. It's a significant investment in terms of time, energy, money, but it's something which will come back every day of your professional life and also personal life. I made some very good friends who are long-lasting, so it's definitely a great experience what you're going to do now. I was talking about personal computers. I had a big PC, IBM PC, while in New York, and I was using the Excel of the time was called Lotus 123, and you had to switch a floppy disk, the big floppies, all the time to get it going. It was so incredibly slow, so I don't know whether it helped or not, but we were using it. Now, touching upon the crisis, as we were saying, everybody speaks about the crisis in Italy these days, and there are obviously a big concern of poor perspectives for Italian students. And then I thought again, I thought about my time when I graduated from college. We were still the world was still divided into big blocks, the communist bloc and the Western bloc, with a lot of hatred and lot of real big issues. Pollution was crazy. We were living in smoking environment, and pollution of all the time was really widespread. In Italy, in particular, there were the Red Brigades. Back in those years, 1980, I believe, has been the year with the highest number of people shot or killed. It was, I believe, 125. I read recently statistics of people killed because of different ideas, and that was Italy. The General Dozier was kidnapped in 1982. This was, I believe, the head of NATO in Europe. So unemployment was very high. I was living in Genoa, which was a city which was badly affected by unemployment, and perspective were frankly nil. Was a terrible environment and terrible atmosphere. After college, I decided let's go out, as you guys are doing. I hear that with one exception, no one is from Milano. And that's a good sign. You know, people who wants to move on and get new experience. So I went to London, and in a short time I did about 10 different jobs. And thinking back, there are 3 characteristics of this job. First of all, I did not really know what was going on. I did not understand what I was doing. Problem of language, problem of complexity. There were, you know, a trainee, so people really wouldn't care about you. The second feature of those jobs were I was not paid, so I was not making any money, which was not really pleasant. And the third is that I was doing plenty of photocopies. I became a specialist in photocopying to the point that when I came back to my hometown, I was suntanned. And people would not believe it that I got suntan in London. It was because of photocopying. So, but that was a good experience because I saw very many different things. I ended up in a trading floor for a few weeks, trading commodities. I did an investment company, just proofreading, and at that point there was no word processors. There was just handwriting, proofreading of prospectuses, all sort of things. But that was very helpful because it gave me a flavor for many different jobs. At that point, I realized that I needed to go forward with my education, and I decided to take a master's degree. The master's, you will soon discover, is hard work, but it's good fun also. After the master, I was obviously confused about what to do, and I was lucky enough to get a good job with an investment bank. So for a few years, I did investment banking. Talking about crisis and about difficult times, I started in it was Merrill Lynch, and the department was the equity transaction group. So we were doing IPOs. We were floating companies on the stock exchange in London. And after a few months I was in the job, there was a huge market crash. It was called the Black Monday. It was October 1987. Think about this. In 2 days, the Dow Jones lost 25% of the value. It was unbelievable. I believe the biggest drop since the Great Depression. So again, that was real crisis, especially for an investment bank. But again, there was a lot of anxiety. There was this horrible question of a restructuring, which the bank undertook. And so most of my colleagues were sacked from one day to another, which I remember as a real crude and terrible experience. To me, luckily enough, it was an opportunity because I moved on to another department. I was moved to another department, and that where I learned my job of M&A and private equity. So again, crisis may mean an opportunity. Then I spent, after some years in New York and in London, I got in touch with, by chance, speaking at a conference with a professor of mine of Columbia, a French-Italian professor, and he said, we want to open a private equity fund in Italy. Are you interested? And I said, no. In a week time, I closed my house in London and moved back to Italy, where we did this startup. It was a startup in private equity. It was kind of unknown in Italy, so we were 5-6 people in the country trying to do this exercise. And interestingly enough, the first 2 investments which we did were disastrous, absolutely. One was absolutely catastrophic. We lost all the money, and that was a big lesson because in reality what we did in retrospective was exactly the opposite of any textbook case. So we did not do the right due diligence, we picked the wrong management, we picked the wrong industry. I mean, everything was wrong, and we lost 100% of the money. So hard lesson, and the lesson is always go back to what you have learned and what you're going to learn. But again, from the personal point of view, not for our investors, but from the personal point of view, it was a great lesson, because you learn from the mistakes rather than from the successes. At least this is my experience. Then another huge crisis. We were working in Italy, and it was 1992. National debt had skyrocketed in 10 years, moving from 60% to more than 100% of GDP. There was a deficit of more than 10%. And there was the financial markets at one point started attacking the lira. Massive crisis. There was a new government, technical government by Mr. Amato. They introduced a law patrimoniale, so they took 6% of all the current accounts of the country, something unheard of. And the lira was devaluated by 25%. Again, at the time, the general atmosphere was very depressing because everybody thought it was the end of the world. I was lucky enough to have bought at the time, to have made an investment in a manufacturing company. With the devaluation, all of a sudden, from one day to another, our products became tremendously competitive. So we were starting to sell all across Europe, and we were unstoppable. We had the technology, we had a good product, and the price was just great. So that was the beginning of a very interesting story. I wish I had met Professor Serio before, because it was an international build-up of companies, starting from a very small Italian company, which grew 10 times by internal growth and by acquisitions. We ended up with a company which had plants in 5 different countries in Europe, and we were starting a globalization, making investment in South America, in India. China was not very fashionable at the time. So again, out of a big crisis, from the personal point of view, clearly there was huge social problems and general problems, but from the personal point of view, I was lucky enough to ride that wave and make some good profits. So when people start telling you there's no hope, that everything is negative, then you should start really thinking, okay, that there must be an opportunity someplace. So go out and look for it. Now, I'm almost finished. I clearly, there has been some lessons in this process. By the way, after I sold that particular company, I made some consultancy for an international consulting firm called Bain and Company. Then I bought another company, which I grew with a French shareholder, a German bank, and another German shareholder. So again, very international. And one lesson, again, which I could draw was globalization is not threatening, is an opportunity. Is threatening if you are not good enough in what you do, if you don't have the right weapons. In case of a person, are the language skills, academic skills, learning what you're doing now is one of the best weapons to compete in a global market. And again, trying to draw some, if I may, some lessons. And this is just speaking to myself. I don't have any pretension of teaching you anything. But one thing I learned was do your homework, always. I remember when I was with Merrill Lynch, working for Benetton. we have this big meeting because they were interested in making a large acquisition. And we have this meeting with the managing director at the time, Gianni Mion. And we sit down, the banker, the yellow ties, we were called, with pinstripe suits. And we start talking, saying what we thought about the situation. And this managing director let us speak. And after half an hour and said, I read the accounts myself, and I have this thinking. And he kept on speaking for an hour. He knew exactly what was to be learned about that particular company. He knew everything about that company because he read the financial reports and whatever had to be learned. And I remember that very harsh. He was not complaining, but it was very frustrating and a big lesson. So do your homework. You have a meeting on a certain subject, go there well prepared. You have an exam, learn, study. It was almost to the point of being humiliating, I have to say. But it was a big lesson, and thanks Lord at the beginning of the career. Another thing, always go back to fundamentals and look at the numbers. The numbers, normally speaking, tell you the truth about the situation. We live in a world where the information is widely available, and learning and studying and analyzing by numbers is always a good strategy. People, oftentimes, it happened to me working with some people in my companies, perhaps working 30 years in the same area, and convinced about certain things. And then you go down, you read the numbers, and all of a sudden you realize that some convictions dating back by 30 years experience are wrong. So numbers, normally speaking, don't cheat you. Be passionate. Passion is a secret of life, I think. First of all, it's a small secret, but passion is a key to success and also the key of not being bored. It's easy to get bored. Every 2 to 4 years I change a job because I get bored. But then it's the passion which gets me started again. And passion is also contagious. So if you're passionate, people working with you will soon touch it and feel it and become passionate too. And with passion, you really can conquer anything in your life. You will. I read with interest hearing Professor Baroncelli about a lot of teamwork in this program, and that's essential. I'm a keen sailor, and when I was your age, I wanted to be a solo sailor. I want to navigate solo around the oceans. And at the time, you were literally alone. Today, the world has become too complex to be alone, and even the solo sailor have the so-called shore team, where they have a navigator, a routier, they have a nutritionist, they have a gearing specialist, they have a sailmaker. So they have a team, and even solo sailors do need a shore team. So always remember to have your short team and to be together with someone else, because that really helps in the good and the bad times. Then timing. Timing is. They say that timing is of the essence in finance, in entrepreneurship, in any word. I always thought that I wish I knew what was the right timing. I must say that I've been lucky. You need luck in life, and timing, oftentimes you don't decide, but looking back, timing has oftentimes been gracious with me because I'm lucky. So that's another augurio which I'm making to you. Now the last point, and I'm done, and probably is the most important. If I think about what is my biggest asset in my professional life, is not being capable of speaking a few languages, is not being trained, but it is reputation. And reputation comes from a very disciplined approach about ethics and about rules. Being Italian, by the way, you know that Italians have a tendency of avoiding rules and it's kind of a national vice, if I may say so. In my family, there was this epic of my mother being able to cheat at the esame di maturità at the back, which I always thought it was, good fun. And then thinking back, it was not that good. It was not that fun because, cheating is like taking opportunities away from people better prepared than you, and that's not good. And I was shocked in the USA when a guy was caught copying from a piece of paper, and he was expelled, and he was denounced by a colleague. And this colleague was a hero. In Italy, it would have been, a shame, but this one was a hero. And I think, thinking back, I think it was right. That's the right way to go about it. So again, uncompromising ethical values, and it's everyday's discipline. When they tell you business is business, that's not true. Business is business insofar you can maintain your values, which is something which will last all your life. So, sorry for being a bit patronizing. I just couldn't resist. Thanks for listening. Good luck. You made the right choice. That's a great program with great people. I just wanted to say hello to Daniela and Marcello on the back. There were two victims of a field project which we did last year, horrendously complex field project, which ended up with a massive success with the company, I have to say. Almost to the point of there was this big board of directors, and they were absolutely delighted with the work which we did. So thank you in retrospective. It's been a great experience working with you. And good luck, everybody.